We need to double the electricity in this country, double it, just to feed AI.
Welcome to the Cowles Ventures podcast.
Yeah, we'll get started. Well, yeah, thanks for taking some time out of your busy day to come and chat with me. I'm very excited to learn more about what you're doing and all that. But yeah, thanks for coming on.
Awesome.
So
good to be here.
We'll just jump right into it. If you just want to like kind of give
we're recording, right?
Yeah, we're rolling. If you want to just give a general background of who you are, how you came to Spokane, what you're doing now, what you're working on.
Born in Boston.
Okay.
Back in the 70s, so I do actually remember the 70s.
Yeah.
I grew up in an Air Force family, so we actually moved back and forth between Boston and England a couple times.
Wow.
And spent summers in Kentucky. So as a kid, different times, I had the Boston accent, I had a British accent, and sometimes Kentucky. So it all kind of mixed in there. And the accent I have now is what my parents told me I should have.
Yeah.
In Boston, not everyone has that Boston accent.
Really?
Yeah, they don't.
Huh.
We did not. Next door neighbors did. Next door did not. Next door did. And it was just, yeah, it's not as much a thing as people think.
Interesting. Why do you think that is? Just a lot of people.
Oh, it's because my parents
in.
told me not to.
Oh, okay.
I come home from kindergarten and I start to have the Boston accent.
Yeah.
My mom sat me down. I'm not your mother. I'm your mother. You're not a swimmer. You're a swimmer. You're not a runner. You're a runner. And I think half the parents had that same talk because half of us, I grew up in Bedford, Mass. Love that town. Half of us had that accent, half did not.
Interesting.
Anyway, so I grew up and stay in Boston, go to Boston University. I did half of my physics training in Madrid, Spain, though,
Okay.
studying physics and Spanish.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long were you there for?
2 years.
So you speak Spanish then?
I do.
That's
Hablo
awesome.
español con
Okay.
acento madrileño, si quiero.
Uh-huh.
And I decided in my last semester, though, that I wanted to do something else. Now, I finished my physics degree, but it all is because of a course on AI that I took at BU in my last semester.
And what year was that?
1995,
Okay.
May.
So they were getting into it. That's what I've learned most about talking to people in AI is that it's been around for a lot longer than people think.
There are papers from the 1930s that are still important, or ideas from then. You've seen The Imitation Game.
Yes.
Alan Turing.
Yep.
Well, when you study AI back in 1995, Alan Turing's name comes up more than anyone's for a number of reasons. But there are papers from that time that are still important now. So in 1995, I thought I was getting into it late.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
And a lot of people doing it now weren't even born in 1995.
Yeah.
So it didn't turn out that way. But I remember I graduated college and I decided I'm not going to do physics. I want to do AI. That's way more interesting. That one course I took, I remember thinking before the course, AI was just that thing from 2001: A Space Odyssey. HAL, you know?
Yeah.
And I always thought the coolest job in the world would be programming HAL. But I didn't know that was a real thing. And now I know it's a real thing. So I'm going to do that instead. So I did not go into physics. I decided I'm just going to try to get a job at one of these AI companies. And it took like a year and a half. But I got into one of them. And it was called Alltech, Applied Language Technologies. It's one of these startups in a building called the Athenaeum Building in Cambridge, Mass., which had incredibly expensive rent and was a terrible building. I mean, you go into this space and you're sharing it with several other startups and there's tons of cords all over the floor and air conditioners to try to keep things a little bit cool. But it was a really interesting time. We were doing speech recognition in the 90s in a way that, you could use it on the phone. So you call into an office and you say the name of the person you want to talk to.
Yeah.
So that was AI at the time. And over the years, I've been at so many startups and other companies, I can't even remember them all.
Yeah.
But the through line of my career is this desire to understand how the brain works, language, how language encodes thought and meaning, and apply that to AI.
That's interesting. So you got started, what made you want to go work for a startup? What was that desire right away? Because I'm sure there was a lot of pressure, especially back then, of, you go out and you graduate college, you want to get a job at a big company, right? It's safe, it's more secure. What was kind of the thought of I want to join a startup company?
So I worked at a big company before that one, actually, called PictureTel. We were doing video conferencing, and we had more than 50% of the world market share in video conferencing at the time. PictureTel had amazing technology. Of course, you had to spend $20,000 per unit and have them positioned at anywhere you want to do video conferencing. And then you had to have a very expensive digital line and these things called inverse multiplexers that would combine 3 lines into one. And then it would not be as good as, free Google Meet now. We're in an amazing new world.
Yeah.
But every conference started with a couple minutes of, can you hear me now?
Yeah, which they still do.
We still have that.
It's just still, can you hear me?
All these years later.
Can you see my screen?
Can you see my screen? We still have all those same problems, which is, I think, is funny. But I was at that big company, and I remember realizing I was like this tiny peg in this large system. And then when I got to work at a very small company, Alltech, there were only 12 or 13 people there. It was an amazing feeling. I actually made something that went into the product and was used for years. I became, over time, the phoneticist, which means we had these libraries of how you pronounce things.
Yeah.
And I wrote Perl scripts. Perl was a language we used a lot back then. I wrote Perl scripts to modify those language or those pronunciation libraries. And I was told by my boss that I actually increased the accuracy rate measurably. And that stayed in the product for years.
That's awesome.
At PictureTel, I sent faxes.
Yeah.
That's all I did.
Yeah.
So that definitely made me more excited about startups.
Definitely.
Than large companies.
Yeah.
But I have worked at large companies.
Okay. What would you say, there's pros and cons to each, obviously. What would you say is the biggest thing you've learned working at some of the big companies than now, and even back then working for the smaller companies?
Have you ever heard of Robin Dunbar or Dunbar's number?
No.
So there's this number that comes from a special graph. Dunbar was an anthropologist, and he took primates of different brain sizes and charted them on this graph with brain size or the social aspect part of the brain on the x-axis and group size on the y-axis. So he found a semi-straight line, meaning that you can predict the proper group size of a primate based on the size of the social part of the brain.
Yeah.
For humans, it's about 150.
Okay.
Now, I had exactly 150 people in my graduating class in high school. And I knew many of those people all the way back to kindergarten. And I could tell you at the time, by every face, I could tell you the first and last name.
Yeah.
I knew them. But I also knew who knew who well, like who had dated whom, who had had a fight with whom, all the way back to kindergarten. I don't remember it now, but
Sure.
I remember thinking at the time that I did know that. And 150 squared relationships. That's complex.
Yeah.
But that's the social world we live in.
Yeah.
Once you get above that, Robin Dunbar says that group size is too big.
Yeah, it gets fuzzy.
So you can't remember who has a beef with who, who's been, doing things to whom. Then you get anonymity, and you get freeloaders more able to cheat the system. And in a big company, you have to put in place policies, and you have to do all of the things we call bureaucratic bullshit. So small companies, less than 150, you don't need that. Big companies, you do. That's another reason I love small groups.
Yeah.
You can leverage our instincts. And it's not about policy to serve the company.
Right.
It's about we are a group of people doing something special, and we can just have good relationships with each other and treat each other well. And then if someone is the kind of person who's a freeloader or a taker, you figure it out.
Quick.
And usher them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not sure. I think I remember reading something about that now that you say that. about that's why the military, when they're doing, I don't remember what they're called, but their groups, they like, section them off. And that's why it's like they try to get it around 100 to 150, because any more than that, it's like it gets fuzzy. People get weird and whatever. But smaller you get, the more kind of intimate you get in terms of like bonding and all that. So definitely interesting. That kind of goes into companies as well. But anyway, so talking about companies, so you run your own company right now called Pangeon. Let's talk about that.
So Pangeon.com, Pangeon Corp, is something that started in August of 2022.
Okay.
Now, I've had the idea and the domain name for a long time, but I decided this is the time to really launch it. Now, the thing I've seen over the years with all these startups is that there's so many ingredients to make a cake, and if you're missing one ingredient, it all falls apart.
Yeah.
You could have a great team, a great product. Like, I'll give you one example. In 1999, I did a startup with a friend of mine named Armin Skandarian, who was not just a friend. I was in his wedding. He was in my wedding. He was my boss at PictureTel, actually.
Nice.
And we decided to do a company together. This is 1999. We actually got funding. We got $4.25 million to launch Super Wings.
Okay.
That's what we called it. And the idea was to write software for mobile devices.
Okay.
The BlackBerry,
Yeah.
the RIM devices.
Yeah.
We had Casio, there were Handspring, there were Palm Pilots, a whole bunch of devices at the time.
Yeah.
And those devices could not browse the internet because a simple website, just, abc.com, whatever, would have too much content to fit into the memory of one of these phones. So we developed middleware so that there would be a server somewhere that would maintain the state, and you would get the first 10% of it and then the next 10%. We also made an email product. We made all these different ways to use the internet from these phones, and there were 7 basic formats of these devices. So it was a very complex thing.
Yeah.
We were in business 3 years. We never made a single sale.
Really?
Never. And what it came down to almost every time was no one wants to use the internet on their phone, stupid. We have computers for that. So we had a great team. We had a great product. We had everything except the market didn't want us.
Yeah.
So timing was the issue.
Interesting.
If we had launched in 2006 instead,
Yeah.
it would have been gangbusters.
Right.
So I've looked at that problem and 10 other problems that startups seem to face. When you have a good idea, that's such a tiny part of it. But if you have a good idea, the ability to execute, and a team, what if you had a helper that could make sure that you have all the ingredients to make a success? That's what Pangeon is trying to be.
Okay.
Now, we're also not funded. So I've been, self-funding this or getting people to help self-fund things. So Pioneer Square Labs, you may have heard of that.
Familiar. Yep.
They
Very
had
cool
like
company.
100 million, whatever funding.
Yep.
We're trying to do exactly what they're doing, but without the funding.
Yeah.
So it has
more
proved to be a
difficult.
challenge.
Yeah.
But our first company we launched was called IntelliPat. So everything we launch, it fits a certain pattern. Containerization, first of all, is a concept that has revolutionized software, but it also first revolutionized actual transport.
Yeah.
So containerization in the 1940s was when they developed those 20-foot equivalent containers, shipping containers. They go on trucks, trains, boats, same thing every place, right? That container means it's like a promise. If you're on the outside and you're the trucking company or the shipping company, you don't have to worry about what's on the inside.
Yeah.
You have specs for the outside, and that's all you care about. Same thing with Docker containers. You don't need to worry about what's inside. What's inside might be Windows, Ubuntu Linux, Mac OS. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All you care about is the outside. So that outside is like a promise to the system that's going to run your containers. Everything we do, typically, will be an AI model or software and system around AI models that sits inside a container. The reason this is special is because there's economics available to these AI models that's never been available before.
Yeah.
Let's say that you have 0 customers. You can have your AI model sitting in a container. You also have 0 costs. No one's using it.
Yeah.
Let's say you run a test, and your test reveals that every time you crank the handle of your AI, it costs you 1 cent. Charge your customer 4 cents,
Right.
5 cents, 6 cents. It's still very cheap for them, especially if you're bringing them like $1 worth of value.
Right.
Then you deploy this in the cloud, Google, Amazon, whatever. Then let's say you get funding for an ad, and maybe you have a Super Bowl ad. 1 minute later, you have 10 million customers, all at once. As long as Google doesn't run out of computers, your product will work.
Yeah.
It's in a container that they spin up arbitrarily. And as long as you charge your customers more than it costs you,
Yeah.
you are marginally profitable. In fact, when the US Treasury prints a $1 bill, it costs 6 cents. If you make, 95% profit on your system, it's literally a money printer.
Yeah.
So that's the goal, to turn AI models into money printers. And IntelliPat is an AI that runs certain things that humans do now. And eventually we will get to the full patenting process. But the first part is what's called a novelty search. This is something that large language models still struggle to do right. So the idea is, if you have an invention, how do you make sure it's never been invented before?
Yeah.
And a novelty search may cost $3,000 if you go to an American law firm.
Yeah.
If you go to a company in India, maybe it's $800. And what they will do is they will have a human do a whole bunch of Google searches. They will look at those patents, and they will, peruse them and look for things that may invalidate your new invention. And they'll give you some advice at the end.
Yeah.
What we do instead is we will read way more patents, and our AI will go line by line, comparing to every line of your invention. Humans, it turns out, we're lazy.
Weird.
Yeah. And we're not detail oriented. We do not read every line of every patent.
Right.
But our AI can do that. And it can give a better set of suggestions at the end than I believe any human can.
Yeah.
So IntelliPat is our first company that went through all the phases, 4 phases. It's an idea, we make a project, then we launch an actual product, and then we launch an actual company.
Okay.
And this is something we want to make repeatable.
Yeah.
We want to make it very easy so that anyone with an idea can come to us. The idea is like a Hollywood studio. When you go to, let's say you're a really creative guy and you have a new script, some science fiction movie or fantasy movie. You've wrote this awesome script. You go to Hollywood and try to get it made, right? You go to a studio. If they love your script, they can make it happen, even without funding.
Yeah.
What they do is they will get you in the room with the check writers. You ever watch a movie and there's like 5 different production companies at the beginning?
Yeah.
Only one of them actually produced the movie. The others were check writers.
Okay.
So the studio says, you know what, we have the talent. We can make the movie. We have these buildings where we have sets. We have special effects people. We have the actors on speed dial. We have good directors. So the studio that actually makes the movie is us. We actually make the AI.
Yeah.
But we get some check writers in the room and match them up with the guy who has a great script. But instead of a movie, we're making an AI company. And we want to do it again and again and again.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. I mean, in theory, right? It was called IntelliPat?
IntelliPat.ai.
Okay. And is that have there been others? Are there others?
There are
currently
others. The
going
next
through?
one, I'm going to launch Tuesday
Okay.
at AI Week in Seattle.
Okay.
So
I like it.
I'm speaking on a panel there on Tuesday at 2 p.m. And for the hours leading up to that, there's something called Startup Alley. And we have a booth there.
Nice.
Now, this new thing is called parsimony.
Okay.
Think about when you have a parsimonious explanation for something, what does that mean to you when you hear that?
To me, I don't know. In what way are you guys defining parsimony, I guess?
So parsimonious means that your explanation of something fully explains it in as simple a way as possible.
Okay.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
In ancient times, it was very important to know where the planets were, because that's, astrology was how we decided when to plant.
Sure.
Agriculture. If you plant at the wrong time, everybody in your village dies.
Yeah.
So it's
Pretty
damn
important. Right.
Ptolemy came up with this system to predict when certain planets would come back. He believed that the circle was the perfect shape. And he knew that every planet must go in a circle, but they don't. So they would get the wrong answer. So he said, you know what? Instead of just a circle, that circle has epicircles or epicycles. So the circle has a little thing that goes like that, right?
Okay.
Epicycles. It still got the wrong answer.
Yeah.
So he said, on the epicycles, there are epicycles.
Okay.
So it just got more and more complicated. And eventually, when you do like 3-4 levels of this, you get good enough results.
Okay.
It was super complicated, took forever to calculate. And they're probably using your Roman numerals.
Right.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah. No computers, obviously.
No computers. We used that until like Galileo and Kepler and Tycho Brahe and that time in Europe. So hundreds and hundreds of years we're doing it that way. Now, there is a theory that Hypatia, a mathematician in old Alexandria, knew the right answer. The right answer is that an orbit is an ellipse.
Yeah.
And then you just use the equation for an ellipse. And it's like, duh.
There it is.
So the equation for an ellipse is a more parsimonious description of planetary movement.
Okay.
We came up with a more parsimonious description of language and meaning.
Okay. So say, and is it a like question answer chatbot type
We can
thing?
incorporate into that, but it's right now, it's just a fundamental layer.
Okay.
The first floor of a building
Sure.
that will become the next kind of AI.
Okay. Yeah, because when you ask, ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, you ask it a one sentence question. It doesn't bring you back with a one sentence answer, right? It brings you back with half a page and then maybe some other questions you might want to ask. And so what you're saying is instead of doing that, it would just give you exactly what you're looking for and nothing else.
It's more complicated than that. We have to get into the guts of what actually is going on in AI. So I have my students do this. Last year I had my students write what's called the transformer from scratch. The transformer is the structure behind GPT, Llama, Claude, all of these models. At the core, they have this thing called a large language model. And the large language model is just a bunch of transformers. And the transformer, it does a lot of math. Just think about it as a black box that does a lot of math. Now think about the way you talk and the way you write. It's one word at a time.
Right.
Always. The way you talk, you have one mouth. Only one word can come out at a time. Now, there is an idea that maybe if you do sign language, you can do different words with different hands. I don't know. I don't speak sign language. But language for most people is a sequence. Think about if you have a row of people holding hands. You can only hold two hands at once.
Yeah.
Now, the first person in the row, they're holding one hand, the last person two, but everybody else just holding two hands. But language isn't structured that way, at least not in your brain. Think about the word give. Like, Jack gave Jill a book. Give is connected to three ideas. Jack is the giver, Jill is the recipient, and the book is the gift. In linguistics, we can describe this as having semantic roles. So these things have a role. There's one thing that is, the agent, the thing giving, that's Jack. There can only be one agent, one of each role. And there's 10, 12 other roles depending on how you define it. But that shape, one thing connected to three things, You can't do that in a line of words that are just holding one hand at a time. So what's going on there? Between the sequence that you hear of sounds or words you read on the page and what you actually get in your brain, it turns that into something else. It turns that into the thing where you can have three connections, which we describe as a tree. We call it a parsimony tree.
Okay.
Now that tree is constructed using little signposts and signals left throughout the language. In English, we use word order. Jack gave Jill a book. If you change it to Jill gave Jack a book, then you've changed the meaning.
Yeah.
The giver's different. But there are languages like Eastern European languages or Turkish where it doesn't matter what order you put it in. What matters is a suffix you put at the end of each word. That's how you tell who's the giver, who's the recipient. So whatever the language, there's still those signposts, those indicators. And you turn it from just holding hands in a sequence into a tree. We have a novel tree that's not in the literature. Now, it's inspired by literature going back to the 1800s. Lucien Tenier, an early linguist, he came up with something called the dependency parse. And that structure, we've reinvented it. So we're going to be taking the world of large language models, which are just sequences and vectors, and it's very fuzzy. And we're creating a bridge to make it clear and precise. And that's what we're launching Tuesday.
Okay. That's awesome. What is the goal when you guys are going over there for Seattle? Are you trying to get funding, or are you just letting people know about it?
Well,
Funding?
I want to let people know about it.
Yeah.
Funding is my number one priority.
For the company?
Number two, for parsimony.
Are you also advertising Pangeon kind of in tandem with this?
Yes, but the focus will be on parsimony.
Okay.
And I want to get this funded because it's just been self-funded up to now.
Okay.
The other second priority is find partners who will want to integrate this into their system.
Sure.
One of the obvious ways this can be integrated is in what's called so-called reasoning models.
Okay.
Have you used these?
If I have, I could not tell you what they are. So
you have, but you don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Every time you use ChatGPT and it says thinking, thinking, that is what's called a reasoning step.
Okay.
And they call it reasoning models because they like to say that in a marketing way. It is reasoning first, and then it gives you the final answer.
Yeah, because you can turn that on and off.
You can.
Right. You can be like, I don't want that. Just give me the thing.
And they don't show you what's actually happening.
Yeah.
They summarize it sometimes.
Yeah.
But we got a glimpse because there are open source models where you can see this. And when you do see this in an open source model, it's shocking.
Shocking good?
Shocking bad.
Shocking bad. That's not what we wanted.
The caveat is it does help.
Okay.
And there's this famous paper came from DeepSeek that showed the more time they spent reasoning, the better the answer got at the end.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. So it does help the large language model do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So it gets the right effect. But it gets there for a weird reason. And a clear example that I like was I asked it once, what is the capital of France? Easy question. It should just say Paris, right?
Yeah.
Instead, it went into this long diatribe, all the things they could think of about France and Paris's history. And then there's this one telling sentence in the middle where it said, well, let's see. Milan is the capital of Italy. Berlin is the capital of Germany. Madrid is the capital of Spain. So yeah, Paris fits the pattern. What pattern? There's no pattern. What? No. When you use a reasoning model, what's actually happening is that there is a special token. You see, every word is actually a token to the model, right?
Sure.
And there's a special token they force on it called the think token. And when you actually write it down, you just usually write bracket, think, bracket. And that means it's now going to be in thinking mode until it decides on its own to finish thinking mode with a /think token. Okay. So it is now on its own. It's going to do this as long as it wants. It just keeps doing next word prediction until it gets to the closed think token, and then it emits the final answer. So from its perspective, though, it doesn't actually know that think or closed think is different from, the word avocado or green or red.
Sure.
From the large language model's perspective, every token is just another token. It doesn't know the difference, but the system around it manages it with those things. So if the system around it says, okay, you're going to do reasoning now, it force feeds the think token. It gets a bunch more tokens. Eventually, it gives the stop think token. And then it stops doing this, and it starts printing words on the page.
Interesting.
And that's the final answer. So the reasoning step is actually more like a child babbling to itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Interesting.
So parsimony, I
Yeah.
want to replace the reasoning tokens with actual reasoning. And we have actual reasoning going all the way back to Plato and Aristotle.
Yeah.
They came up with modus ponens and modus tollens. These are sound inference for logic. In the 60s, we came up with resolution. And then we also have, induction and abduction, all these other things that humans use. We also now have probabilistic logic networks developed by a couple of friends of mine. There's also lambda calculus, there's prolog, and all of these different logic systems that we thought from the 60s and 70s were going to be AI. We didn't bring them into AI yet. Now it's time. And I want to bring them back into AI, uniting them with large language models, and parsimony is the bridge.
Makes sense. Wow. That's crazy. How are you, so many questions. What's your ideal target? You said you're trying to get partners first, partners and funding. What would be the ideal partner?
Well, the ideal partner would be a big company like Google.
Yeah.
But I even take, some tiny company that is doing something with agents, maybe. AI agents are here.
Yeah.
By the end of this year, some people say there's going to be more agents on the internet than humans. So they're a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, they're not great yet.
Right.
They got so many issues.
Yeah.
Don't ever give an agent your credit card, for instance. Yeah. One of the big problems with them is that they are stuck in LLM world. That LLM that literally, it's like the Chinese room, Japanese room. You know this story?
I don't think so.
Okay. So let's say, I like to use Japan as an example. Let's say you're walking through rural Japan.
Okay.
And you see this small building, small shed. There's a line of people to walk up to the shed. There's no windows, no doors really, or there's a door, but it's shut. But there's a slot. And one person walks up and they have something in Japanese written on a piece of paper. And they slide it into the slot. Then they walk around the other side of the building, the little shed, and wait a couple minutes. And then a piece of paper comes out. They look at it, smile, and walk away. And then the next person, you wait because it captures your imagination.
Sure.
At the end of the day, the door's open. And there's a dude inside. He's got a table and a big book. And you say, hey, how you doing? And you say, oh, hey, you're an American. Oh, good to meet you. And you say, your Japanese must be really good. He was like, no, I don't speak a lick of Japanese. What do you mean? You've been answering these people's questions all day. And I talked to some of them, and they felt heard and understood.
Yeah.
He said, let me show you. And he has a table like this one and a giant book, and he opens it up. And on the left side of each page is a column with Japanese characters, and there's other Japanese characters on the right. He says, when I get a piece of paper, I look for the funny picture they draw. And here's one right here.
Yeah.
And when I see this, I draw this other picture on the other side of the paper, and I just slide it out. That is like an LLM.
Okay.
So to an LLM, this word and this word and this word are just numbers. Like if someone on the outside were to write, Tokyo is being attacked by Godzilla, you better leave the booth or else you're going to die. he wouldn't leave the booth.
Right.
Because he doesn't understand. But you know what he would do? He would write something appropriate.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'll leave the booth right now.
Yeah.
But then he wouldn't leave the booth.
Right. Wouldn't actually do it.
That is what's going on in an LLM. And that is why, even though right now they are the brains of agents, they are not the appropriate brain.
Yeah.
So parsimony intends to add the right layer on top, substrate, so that an agent could actually understand and do the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that word understand is a loaded word.
Yeah.
No one agrees on what it means.
Right.
What I'm going to posit to the world is that to understand a sentence means to convert it into a parsimony tree. That a parsimony tree is the simplest representation of the meaning of a sentence that is still sufficiently rich to take action on it, to translate it, to make other renderings of it. That is what I'm positing to the world.
I like it. You kind of touched on something unique there that I don't think a lot of people think about, because when they look at ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these ones, they think, wow, this has gotten, I mean, from a year ago till now, it's, objectively gotten much better, but there's still so much that needs to be done. In your opinion, what are the gaps that need to be filled and probably will be filled in the next 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, to where it's reasoning like a normal human, to where it will take action appropriately?
So think about chess and think about golf.
Okay.
So you play both, I assume?
I have, yeah.
Okay. With chess, if you take your piece, like your king, and you put it on a square,
Yep.
and then you move it a millimeter without moving it to a different square, does that matter?
No.
No, it doesn't matter. You can't move it half onto one square and half onto another, and that's
Right.
It has to be totally on one square.
Right. One or the other.
That's called discrete math. It is discretely in one position or another, not multiple, not 1 millimeter. So golf isn't like that, is it?
No.
In golf, one blade of grass can
Right.
cause you to lose.
Yeah.
A little gust of wind at just the right time,
Right.
and you win instead of losing.
Yeah.
Right? In golf, the millimeters matter. In fact, it's infinite precision, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's continuous math.
Okay.
Discrete, continuous.
Yeah.
In chess, we can write computer engines that
Right.
play the game forward.
Yeah.
I can imagine, okay, you've got 10 options. I'm going to imagine all 10. And then for each one of those, I'm imagining 10 of my own moves. Now it's 100. And then it's 1,000.
Yeah.
And it keeps ballooning out, right? But it's possible.
Yeah.
And these computers, some of them I think can think like 14 moves ahead.
Yeah.
Now, they may not look at every possibility, but the fact that they can think so many moves ahead is because it's discrete.
Yeah.
Can you think several moves ahead in golf?
I mean, you can try.
You know, but like, okay, so for your first hit, there's an infinite number of possible places. From each of those, I mean, you already have infinity.
Yeah.
You can do infinity times infinity? No.
Yeah.
Billiards, same thing.
Yeah.
So if you were to make a computer program that tried to play forward a few steps in billiards, it explodes.
Yeah.
You have to make some kind of what we call a discretization. You have to take the continuous space of golf and turn it into those squares of chess.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of approximate it. But
Sure.
you've done it in an arbitrary way
Yeah.
that may not match reality. The biggest gap in agents and AI is that you can't think moves ahead like you can in chess.
Yeah.
You can't, because large language models are like golf.
Yeah.
Every word that goes into a large language model becomes a list of numbers. But these are like golf, they're continuous numbers. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it could be like 0.05678932, whatever. You know, 3.141592653589793238446. Continuous numbers are much harder to manage.
Yeah.
And one word in GPT-4, I think, was a 4,096 length list of numbers that are each on their own really long.
Yeah.
And now with GPT-5, it might be longer. So it is golf to the extreme. And you can't think ahead in the same way. You can't do planning. And that's just the biggest limitation. So here's how they've gotten around that limitation so far. Let's spend 10 times as much money and data and electricity on making it 5% better.
Yeah.
I mean, they spent somewhere between 3 and 4 billion on Grok. Grok 3, and now Grok 4. And then Grok 5 is going to be more. And Elon Musk, I think, is going to spend 20 billion on the next one. I mean, 1 million GPUs, and each GPU is 30,000.
Yeah.
And then all of that becomes a rounding error as compared to the electrical bill.
Right.
We need to double the electricity in this country, double it, just to feed AI.
What are your thoughts on that?
So it's going to happen.
Okay.
I don't know where it's all going to come from. A lot of it's going to be nuclear.
Sure.
And it is horribly inefficient because this is still the golf game.
Yeah.
Now, people like Jan LeCun and other famous people in AI have said that this LLM thing, it is not how we get to true artificial general intelligence, AGI.
Right.
In fact, Jan LeCun says it's an off-ramp on the road. Now, I don't think it's totally an off-ramp. I think it's useful, and it's a tool that will still be around.
Just in a different direction.
It's just a tool.
Yeah.
It becomes one of our tools, and it's helpful. I mean, we use it at Parsimony for certain parts, and it is a helpful tool. And there are brain regions that I think are properly simulated by an LLM, but not your logic, not your prefrontal cortex, the part of you that's aware and can think through steps. That's not an LLM. That's something else entirely. So the biggest gap to the future is getting over that hump where we go from the game of golf to the game of chess.
Because doesn't Sam Altman he's already said that they've achieved AGI internally within OpenAI. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think,
So I'm amazed at what OpenAI has done.
Yeah.
They are the ones who really ushered it in. I mean, Google published the paper in 2017, and they published models like BERT, which people in my industry knew, but no one outside of AI even cared until OpenAI came out with GPT-3, and then we all cared. They changed the world for everyone.
Yeah.
And they keep coming up with good stuff, and I expect to keep seeing good stuff from them, especially once they build the Project Stargate, which is already being built in Abilene, Texas. It's going to be bigger than Grok. I don't think they are thinking about what we're thinking about at Parsimony, though. I think they're still doing everything is golf. Everything is continuous. And that's what they think will get them there. And they will get closer and closer to that goal. Every step they take, they will spend 10 times as much money to take one more step. But they'll keep making progress.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I don't think they have AGI yet, not even close.
Okay. That's good to know. Because I remember I saw that. I was like, because everyone's predicting it'll come out in like a year, whatever the prediction is now. And he's like, no, we already have it. I'm like, okay.
I'm with Andre Karpathy. He says about 10 years.
Okay. How do you think that will change? I mean, for people listening that maybe don't know, or maybe are not experts in AI, from where we're at now to the point where we have AGI and things that are just doing things as humans do, how will that change the landscape of how our lives look, how we live, how that relationship will be?
So I like what Kathy Wood says about it being like electricity. Think back to, January 1st, 1900. You're a small business owner. Do you use electricity? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. You can still be profitable if you're making like leather goods or putting shoes on horses or something. You're probably not using electricity. By the end of the century, December 31st, 1999, every employee in your company is using electricity every second of every day, even while they sleep.
Yeah.
That transition didn't happen fast, but it happened. My grandfather was a part of it.
Really?
He was in the Army Corps of Civil Engineers, and he helped bring electricity to parts of Kentucky. AI is going to have some kind of transition like that.
Yeah.
January 1st of 2000, if you're a small business, you're probably not using AI.
Yeah.
I was, but I was at an AI company.
Sure.
By some point, probably within 5-10 years, every employee will use AI every second of every day, even while they sleep.
Yeah.
So how is that going to affect us? Well, we shouldn't be too scared of it. There are jobs that you can't imagine that will exist, and jobs that you thought would go away that don't.
Yeah.
One of the biggest examples is that I remember back in 2017 seeing some really good radiology AI that could identify tumors better than humans.
Right.
And I knew for a fact in 2017 that all radiologists were going to get laid off in the next 2 years. Fast forward to 2025, there are more radiologists working now, not less. And it's because of a weird paradox. And someone, I think Jordovich or something, noticed that when we made oil or gas engines more efficient, people didn't use less gas, they used more. And it was a really weird effect. And what happens is when things become more efficient or faster, we use more of it, not less.
Yeah.
And that's happened in radiology. We do more scans, not fewer.
Yeah.
And you end up needing more people to manage the very productive AI tools that exist. And that's going to happen in every industry, where we thought, in the late 60s is when they invented the ATM machine.
Yeah.
And we knew for a fact by the 70s that all bank tellers were going to go out of business, or they're all going to be laid off. We still have plenty of bank tellers.
Oh, yeah.
That's been around forever.
Yep.
And that same kind of thing is going to be repeated across all industries.
Yeah. At what point do you think AGI or AI or whatever term you're going to use will be as good? Because I think what's missing in those, right, is like when you go to an ATM, there's no human element. There's no one there. You can go, oh, how's your day? Like, good. Blah, blah. You can do specific questions. It's very structured, right? Because it's thinking in terms of ones and zeros. At what point do you think the AI will get so good that it will mimic human emulation and human thought and how we are personality wise and everything, that it will be the same? And maybe some of those things won't stay.
In video or in person?
In person.
Okay, so in person,
Talking robots.
it's going to be a dang long time.
Okay.
Because making things in the physical world that look natural is so hard. But in video, it'll come in maybe 2 years.
Okay.
So you have to speed up things. The latency can cause, you can tell, it's an AI you're talking to if it takes too long to respond.
Right.
And there will be things we have to throw in there, like, it has to cough sometimes or whatever. There's a lot of little quirks that we'll have to put in there.
Yeah.
But I think within 2 years, you can be on Zoom with an AI and believe it's a human. And that's very scary. Now, the worst thing is when you believe it's a human that you know.
Yeah.
There was a British engineering company called Arup, A-R-U-P.
Yeah.
And I think it was 2 years ago already when one of their top accountants got onto a Zoom call with the CFO and some other top person. And the CFO said, okay, we need to take care of some accounts payable. Let's put 5 million, sent here, spend 2 million there. And by the end of the meeting, they had sent $25 million out the door. As soon as he got off the Zoom call, the real CFO called him. Now, this is someone he knew personally, knew what they looked like, knew what they sounded like.
Yeah.
And on the Zoom call, he thought he was talking to that person, and he wasn't.
Yikes.
Now, the scariest part of the whole picture is that technology has not resurfaced. Why?
Yeah.
I think it was a test. And I think it was done by a state actor.
Okay.
Not us.
Yeah.
Another state actor.
Sure.
And they wanted to test it out
Just
for
to
real.
see.
But they also don't want us to develop countermeasures.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, that's the scariest part about it.
That's scary. I mean, you hear that happening. I mean, it still happens more to like older people and like people, call them on the phone. Like, oh, I'm your grand, with,
Yep.
especially just over the phone. I mean, it's super easy if you have a 30-second clip of, if you've ever recorded a podcast or you've been on anywhere in the media, you could take that in 30 seconds or 20 seconds
That's
or
right.
what it is.
What
and
you've
it's
done already
toasted.
today is enough.
Yeah. So my grandma gets in calls from me. She'd be like, oh, it is you. It's like, no, it's not me.
No.
Gosh, that is so interesting. We talked about this earlier. You took the one class, all in on the AI. How did this creativity and this optimism and just interest in AI, keep going through the years? Most people do what they do for a long time and they may be interested in it, but not to the depth that I think, obviously you have. Where did that come from?
So I think it starts with my parents.
Okay.
My mom, brilliant woman, she was teaching French, English, and Spanish in the late 60s in a private school called the Good Pastor School in Memphis, Tennessee. I think it was, Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah, Johnny Cash's kid and Roy Orbison's kid were two of her students.
That's awesome.
And when we moved to Boston, before I was born, in 1971, they moved to Boston, and my mom started taking Arabic at Harvard. So she just really was brilliant with the language side of things.
Yeah.
And then my dad was in the Air Force, so we ended up traveling all over Europe.
Yeah.
And my parents had also traveled to the Middle East before I was born, and then years later as well. They ended up living in Saudi Arabia. My father was working there as a doctor, and they lived in the UAE for a while.
Yeah.
Also, my sister lived in Israel and Lebanon for 2 years each, or 1 year and one, and then Dubai as well. So I ended up traveling all around Europe and the Middle East as a child, then again as an adult.
Yeah.
And the language aspect of life was just exposed to me from birth, really.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated by how these languages were different and how you could take a thought in your head and put it in someone else's head. But I was also fascinated by the math and the physics of the world around me.
Yeah.
When I was 9 years old, my uncle came to visit, and I remember him talking about special relativity, Einstein relativity. And I was like, time can slow down? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
How I thought, and space can squish? What? And when you take the math from physics and the ideas from linguistics, I was longing for some way to combine them. And then years later, I come across Noam Chomsky. And he was the first one who laid a computational and math-based framework for how to understand language. He came up with things called generative grammars, and also a hierarchy. There are simple languages, more complex, more complex, more complex. So a bird language might be, simple. And then human language would be a layer above that, defined by very precise mathematics. And there's something above human language too. Who knows what that would be like?
Yeah.
So all of this math started to feed into this cycle of, I think something is beautiful, I want to understand it better. I understand it with the math, and the math itself becomes beautiful.
Yeah.
And then I go back and it ties back to people. It's all about people and our brains and our thoughts and our feelings and how we communicate and connect with each other.
Yeah.
There's just no end to what's interesting in my mind.
That's awesome. I love that. This is the last one, then we'll wrap up.
Oh, but my father's a neurologist. He's retired now, but that was the other aspect of it. At every night at dinner, he would talk about some aspect of the brain. Like he had a favorite condition.
Just casually?
Yeah, just casually.
Over dinner.
Like he had a favorite condition. I don't know if doctors are supposed to have a favorite disease, but his favorite was alexia without agraphia. Alexia means you cannot read.
Okay.
There's a stroke in your brain. You look at text, you can't read it.
Okay.
But agraphia means you can't write. So alexia without agraphia means you can write and you can't read.
Weird. I've never heard of either of those for one thing, but the thought of, it coming from your brain and you being able to write it down, but as soon as you write it, you're just like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? But it just came from, and you just,
Yeah.
But that's so odd.
Yeah.
What do you do about that? Is there anything you can do?
hope that the connections in your brain heal, and they do heal sometimes after a stroke.
That is so interesting. I've never heard of that. Huh. That is very interesting. So this Pangeon, and did it come out of Gonzaga? You said no.
No.
But
I teach at Gonzaga.
Is that separate?
I've also hired several of the students that graduated from my classes
to work at Pangeon.
Yeah, because I know how well they did in class, and I can tell, okay, you're really good. Can you come work for me?
Yeah. Okay. How did that all come about? What was that passion for? Why did that start?
Teaching?
Yeah.
Oh, I've always known I wanted to be a professor when I was an old man. I just got to do it early.
Oh, there you go.
And I mean, teaching, it doesn't pay well.
Sure.
So
which is why
not doing it for the money.
Sure.
But I love it so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, I half joke when I say this, but it's like people are sitting in a room paying to be there to listen to me mansplain on my favorite topics. So I just come in and I get to talk about my favorite stuff for hours, and they actually listen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's fantastic.
But also, I feel like teaching is one of the things I was put on earth to do. That's how it feels.
I love that. That's fantastic. I think most teachers would agree with you. I don't think there's a single teacher out there that is doing it for the pay. That's right. My mom always says that. My mom is a teacher as well. She's always like, I do it because I love it. Definitely not because it pays the most, but every day you're having a good time. So how, in terms of AI, kind of looping this all together, how does Gonzaga, how has their teaching curriculum or thought process on AI changed? Because I know at the beginning, especially in higher ed, it's very difficult to integrate new technology, new practices into schools, but they have to be cognizant of this is like the next internet wave, right? If you don't teach students or integrate this into your day-to-day, you're kind of going to be left behind. How does Gonzaga think about that? Maybe different than other universities.
Here's how I want them to think about it.
Okay.
And I have allies.
Yeah.
I have friends who are, heads of departments that agree with me, but I have not yet been able to implement what I hope for. So one thing I did last year was they created a special course in the business school so I could teach a few business students the business side of an AI startup.
Okay.
And we did specific use cases. For those same use cases, simultaneously, I had two groups of engineers in the computer science department working on the actual demos, working on the actual models.
Yeah.
And I brought them together a few times. Now, what I'm trying to convince Gonzaga to do, and I a few months ago requested a meeting with the president, have not yet gotten that meeting, but I have allies that are going to try to help me get this happen. But what I believe we need is a entrepreneurship program with implementation. Imagine this. Imagine you're a high school student somewhere in the country and you're looking at this world that's changing. AI is going to take my job no matter what I do. But if you're a part of the AI startup, what if you could go to school, first year you kind of get your feet wet.
Sure.
But you would have to make a special commitment where you're going to work on this all 3 summers. You're not going to relax and go to parties. Okay, you're going to work on this all 3 summers. So get your feet wet first. Then you start to talk with the other people in this special new entrepreneurship program and build teams. Each team has to have technical and business. And then you decide you're going to start working on it. And you launch your project. And then you make it into a product. And by the time you're a senior, you form a C Corp with a product, with customers. By the time you graduate, you are an entrepreneur and you have a company. That, I think, would be a really unique program.
I love it. And that's a question because I sit in on the Hogan final pitches at the end of the semester every year. And I'm always asking, I see some good ideas. Usually they're geared kind of towards college students just because that's what they know. But that's always my question is hey, that was a good idea. Are you guys planning on actually doing this? What was the progress from that, that one company last semester? What are they still doing? In 9.999 times out of 10, it's oh no, this was just for the class. I'm going to go work for Deloitte as a tax, whatever. I was why? Why would you do that? This is and I don't know if it means more coming from me because I look at companies like this all the time and I'm no, I'm telling you, that was a good idea. It's got bones to go somewhere. I don't know if it's going to be a $1 billion company or not, but like it's got something. And so I think if you could do that, and I think it's a great idea to kind of de-risk that, right? Start it early. Be like, hey, we're going to work on this in school. There's a program. We like run you through all this. You can tweak it while you're still in school. And that's what I tell, I'm involved with the new venture lab as well. That's what I tell Kelly all the time, who runs it. And I'm like, college is almost the way that students think about it needs to be changed a little bit, in that it's like almost it's a free 4 years. Like, I mean, you should be just throwing anything at the wall. Like, if you could get in a position like what you're talking about, where you get to junior year, senior year, and you have a company and customers and a path forward, man, you don't have to worry about internships. You don't have to worry about, I got to apply for all these jobs and stressing about, appeasing some corporate bureaucracy crap. No, you got it. Just go do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just by accidents, or how we do things now, like 1 out of every 30 students wants to do that. But what if we recruited those students specifically?
Yeah.
Everywhere across the country.
Yeah. That'd be fantastic. I love that. It's a great idea. I hope you get that meeting with the president. So
Hope so.
Anyway, all right, we'll get you out of here, because I know we're kind of tight on time. But I really appreciate you taking some time from your day, and we'll have you back on.
Been awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, man.